It's pretty common to learn just one way to knit as a beginner knitter and then stick with it forever. However, there are two techniques that are most commonly used in knitting, and learning the differences, including the pros and the cons of both, can be really useful when deciding which method to learn and whether you should learn a second way. Hi, I'm Hannah from knitting.com, and today we're going to explore the differences between continental knitting and English knitting. Both techniques create the same knit stitches. However, there are small differences in the way that the yarn is held and the stitches are formed that can make a big difference in how tight or loose the knit fabric is, and also how fast a knitter can form stitches. Let's start with a short overview of both knitting styles. In English knitting, also known as throwing, the knitter holds the yarn in the dominant hand while knitting. To create a new stitch, the dominant hand lets go of the knitting needle and the yarn is thrown over the needle to form a stitch. In continental knitting, also known as German knitting or picking, the knitter holds the yarn in the non-dominant hand with a strand looped over the back of the index finger. The index finger is used to help the knitting needle pick up the yarn before pulling it through to create a new stitch. In this technique, both hands are in the needle at all times. Let's talk pros and cons. Continental is the fastest way to form a knit stitch. As you advance from a brand new knitter, speed might become important to you. If you know that you want to speed through projects, then trying continental knitting is a great place to start. However, purl stitches are slower using this technique. Also, continental knitting can be easier for crocheters to learn since the yarn is held in the same hand for both crafts. English style is slower than continental knitting over time. However, you might have more control over your yarn tension. If you're having trouble getting engaged with continental style, then try the second method to see if that solves your problem. Let's talk about practice. I'll show you how to knit both English and continental style in this tutorial. If you're going to practice with me today, you'll need knitting needles, yarn, and some practice stitches already cast on your needles. If you're ready, let's get started. Okay, so I have a garter stitch swatch here, and I'm going to show you how continental knitting works, like all the hand movements that you would do to do the knit stitch. In this case, with continental knitting, your yarn is held in your non-dominant hand. So I'm a right-handed knitter or a right-hand dominant person. So I hold mine in my left. If you are a lefty, it's swapped. But in this case, I will show you how I hold it. So for me, it's in the left hand, and you wrap the yarn around your pinky to give it some tension, then over the back of your index finger to hold it out and give you some help when you're making stitches. By wrapping it around your index finger, it helps when you're inserting your knitting needle for knitting. Your index finger helps loop it over. So that's how you would hold your yarn. Again, it's wrapped around the pinky, over the back of your index finger, and held down. I close my pinky fingers around it and then hold my index finger out to make new stitches. So for continental knitting, this is the knit stitch, same for both styles, English and continental. In this case, I loop the yarn around using my index finger and then push it off. So the yarn is getting carried by the index finger out and positioned that way. So it's a little bit faster. When you're working English style, you are having to let go, drop your needle, and then throw the yarn or wrap it around the knitting needle to pick up a new stitch. In this case, everything stays exactly as it was, and you're able to move a little bit faster over time. You also sometimes have less control over tension this way because it's kind of fed through your hand in a different way. So if you're having tension issues, the English style might be a little bit better for you. For crocheters, this is a little bit easier because in crochet, the yarn is held in a very similar way. The hook in your right hand, yarn in your left. So this style might be a little bit easier to learn for crocheters. Okay, got one more stitch in this row. And pull it through. And that's how you do continental style knitting. With the swatch, I'm going to show you how to do English style knitting, or also called throwing. In this case, your yarn is held in your dominant hand. For me, that's my right hand because I'm a right-handed knitter. And you'll want to have your yarn in the back for a knit stitch. I'll show you how to do the knit stitch only. Pulling is very similar. So in this English style knitting, you will insert your needle just like you normally would for a knit stitch, and take your yarn, wrapping it up and over using your right hand. That's called the throwing. That's why you let go of your knitting needle and throw the yarn around before pulling it through to make a knit stitch. Now, this technique is a little bit slower than continental knitting. However, you might have a little bit more control over how tight your stitches are, so it might be easier for new knitters to get the right gauge or have more consistent stitches using this style. So you're just wrapping it around using your right hand. What I'm doing here also is I am supporting this needle so it's not flopping around using my index finger of my left hand. And that helps a little bit, keep things from moving around too much. It's helpful to learn both styles because you're using two different hands. So for continental knitting, you're using your left hand. For English style knitting, you're using your right hand. And learning how to use both is helpful if you start to get wrist strain on one side or the other. So if you're knitting the same way every time, you can get tired muscles or your joints might hurt. So being able to knit both ways is really helpful. Also, it helps with color work because you'll have more than one color in a row, and sometimes it's helpful to have one color in one hand and the other color in the other, if you get that far. All right, and we're almost done with our row, knitting English style. Last stitch. And that is how to do knitting the English style. And that's how to knit both continental and English style. Both methods are good to know, and I recommend you learn both. Knowing how to do both techniques will make color work easier. It can also give you another way to knit if your wrists or joints start to hurt on one hand. And also, learning a technique is just fun. If you found this tutorial helpful, be sure to click the thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Subscribe to knitting.com if you'd like to stay in the loop, and check out our other social media channels. Until next time, happy knitting!